McGregor versus Eddie. Do you see Conor going hard to the body using kicks in the first round, similar to what he did against Mendez? When he fought Mendez, he did something I really like. He was hitting Mendez with that teep, the push kick, and he was hitting Mendez from a real far distance. I really love that kick. I think it hurt Mendez. I think it had a lot to do why Mendez went down, because those body kicks added up. Round number one, he landed those body kicks early. Round number two, after he got up off the ground, he started landing them immediately. I think it was Money in the Bank that he scored in round number one. Those pokes were really powerful. If you remember, he did that also against Nate Diaz. Round number four, he started poking Nate Diaz to the body. He did it once or twice, and you saw Nate visibly be hurt. You know, Nate just pulled his elbow in tight, covered his liver, took a few steps back after that poke, that teep, that front kick to the body. And McGregor's very accurate with it. He doesn't wind it up, but he pokes it right to the liver. And if you've ever been poked to the liver like that, it hurts. It slows you down. It weakens you. It makes your strength go down for a bit. So I really like that kick, but not early on against Eddie Alvarez. And I'll tell you why. Chad Mendes is a lot smaller than Eddie. So yes, Chad was able to take Conor down, and he did it more than once. And he took him down early, and then he took him down again. But he's not as big and as heavy as Eddie. Eddie will drain Conor. I think if he gets on top of Conor, he'll do more work on top. He'll drain Conor more on top, I think, because he's so much bigger. You know, the size difference between Chad Mendes and Eddie Alvarez is quite different. So I think that Conor McGregor was a lot bigger than Chad. You see them when they were standing next to each other. Conor was just towering over him. You think he's just a much bigger guy than Chad. But he's not. I wouldn't say he's a bigger guy than Eddie Alvarez. I would say they're about the same size, you know, or even Eddie Alvarez is thicker, bigger, you know. So I don't think it's going to be the same thing. It makes a difference. Size makes a difference. I mean, I wrestle all the time with black belts, and the lighter black belts are just easier to get off than the bigger black belts. It's just the way it is. You know, when you have that extra weight, that extra size, it goes a long way, especially in a 5-round fight. So will McGregor poke him to the body? I think so, but only in the later rounds. And why I say that is because when you poke to the body, you're more susceptible to the double leg, and Eddie Alvarez has a great double leg. So if he goes to the poke early on, I think his foot will get caught up. I think his leg will get caught up. And yeah, he did it with Mendez, and his foot did get caught up. And remember, if you remember in the round number one against Chad Mendez, he threw a knee. Now, throwing a knee is kind of like throwing a poke. It's if the guy grabs your leg, you're going down. And that's what happened. McGregor was down in the first few seconds of the Chad Mendez fight. But no big deal. Chad Mendez is not that big. He's not as heavy. Even though he did a great job, Chad did a great job controlling Conor and this and that. And it was a very tight round, but still, nonetheless. And Eddie Alvarez is just too thick, too big. Don't give him the foot, you know. Early on, it could be a disaster for Conor. I think Conor's going to play it smart. He's going to get forward. He's going to go forward in the octagon. He doesn't want his back up against the fence. And he's going to try to counter Eddie with his left hand. So whatever Eddie throws, if Eddie throws a kick or a punch or a hook or an uppercut, McGregor is going to counter him with that left. Just like he did to Aldo, just like he did to Nate Diaz. If you remember the second Nate Diaz fight, anything Nate Diaz threw, the answer was a counter left. And you can counter almost any strike with your left hand. So if you're a southpaw, you can counter almost any strike. I think he's going to focus on that. He knows that his left hand is the moneymaker. He knows that his left hand is the death touch. He knows that that's his ticket to victory. He doesn't need too many. If he catches Eddie Alvarez on the chin, it's a done deal. But he can land 20 of those pokes. It'll slow Eddie down, but it won't end the match. Okay, so I think Conor's always had success finishing fights early. What does he finish him with? It's always that left hand. That's what he's going to go for. This is a huge fight for him. He's not going to play around. He's going to counter with the left. So look for that. If Eddie shoots, look for Conor to counter with the left. If Eddie throws a jab, look for Conor to counter with the left. If Eddie blinks, look for Conor to throw the left. He's going to throw the left early on. He's not going to kick. He's going to kick later on if the rounds go on. Okay, so